right, there you go. Welcome, everybody. Good to have everyone here. Appreciate it. Thanks for coming today. And we've got a great speaker for you. And yeah, he's here. I know his seat is empty, but he's here, being interviewed by one of the media downstairs. This latest Speakers Bureau, of course, has been happening since 2005, believe it or not. I always have to shake my head when I say that. But it's been pretty incredible, and we're very excited to have the opportunity to join with you today. We do 8 or 9 of these, as you know, events a year, 2 of them being the Business Sports Luncheon, one in the spring, one in the late fall. So this is the Business Sports Luncheon, and we've had everybody over these years from Bo Schembechler to Tom Izzo to Kirk Gibson to John Smoltz. So we've had all the cream here, and all have a local connection of some sort. On your table, there's a QR code that can be used to get the digital version of today's program. So if there's something you missed, or somebody on your staff back at the office that wants to see this, you can pick it up there. It'll be in entirety on our website. And there's a Take the Survey button at the bottom of that digital program. And there's also a written copy of that on your tables. These things, when they're filled out, really help us. You all know this, and I say it every week or every month, and I couldn't be more sincere every time I say it, that these things do not happen without sponsorship, because they're just too expensive to put on, and they allow us to stay at about 75 people, which is a very comfortable group, and it also gives you a better contact, a better relationship with the speaker. So these events, again, couldn't happen without sponsorship, so we want to thank Dean Transportation, Shaheen Chevrolet Cadillac, most of whom are here, so don't try to buy a car for the next 45 minutes. Fly Lansing, Capital Region International Airport, Sinair. Some of these people have been with us almost the entire time we've been doing this. Foster Swift Attorneys, LAFQ, Lansing Sports Commission, PNC Bank, Washington Avenue Advisors, who you're going to hear a little bit about. They're their new sponsor with us. And of course, WLNS Channel 6, our media sponsor. And we're going to have our speaker introduced today by the 6 o'clock anchor at Channel 6, Jerome Duran. So, Jerome, thanks for being here. Now we're going to go around and do one of the things we like most, which is kind of a community roundtable. Lets people know what's going on. Anybody here? Who's here from the Capital Region International Airport? No, nobody here. Well, and I'll tell you another thing. Remember, when you walk through this airport, the people that are working, there's a lot of them that are working that are not getting paid. So have some empathy there. And we are doing something at the Michigan Business Network to help with that. Shaheen Chevrolet Cadillac. Jason, I saw you there. You guys still have cars? Still selling?
Still cars. My people, I stopped paying them. Just a little so, thank you for having us. Excited to hear Todd's story here. And but I'll tell you, it is winter time. We still have until the end of this month. Buy 3 tires, get one for $1, and it really is a good deal. We normally do a tire match guarantee, but the GM has stepped up and reimbursing us for that. So it's a good deal. We're busier than heck. So if you are interested in that, come see us real quick before the end of the month. Also, leasing is still hanging around us. The Silverado's under $400 a month. See us for details.
Did you bring applications today?
But also, we've got almost 450 pre-owned cars in stock, so we are kind of bulging at the seams here a little bit. We're getting a little aggressive on those, and almost 500 new cars. So there's plenty of inventory out there, and things are going good for us. And
awesome. Congratulations.
Thank you, Chris.
Good to have you here. Thank you. Dean Transportation, I've got Taylor Williams. Taylor?
Hi everyone, I'm Taylor. I'm the communications supervisor for Dean. So right now it's crazy that it's November and we've already had buses on the road since August, but time is flying. Make sure next Friday to go to Silver Bells and see us in the parade. Our team works really hard on getting the bus all decorated and beautiful. And for updates for the industry, we, for 2026, have more electric vehicles that are going to be at some of our operations. So we'll have more to share about that. But and the Dean Trailway side, as always, think of us for your holiday gatherings or any travel you have this season. We have our black car services that can bring you here, take you to the Detroit airport, and anywhere you need to go.
Absolutely, thanks, appreciate it. Megan, you're here from the Lansing Sports Commission. Oh, do you want the podium?
No, I'm good, thanks. I'll leave it for you. Good afternoon, everybody. Megan Zemer, Executive Director for the Lansing Sports Commission. Our team has had an incredible year this year. We're looking to round it out here over the next few weeks. We actually just wrapped up Big Ten Cross Country Championships in partnership with Michigan State University. We are excited to welcome Michigan State back on Friday. They just qualified, the women's soccer team qualified for the NCAA tournament, and we will be serving as host for that as well. And then next week, we will be welcoming the Midwestern Sectional Singles and U.S. Pairs Final for figure skating into our community for the entire week. So excited to bring that event to kind of round out. We've got a couple more events through December, but also really want to share an exciting opportunity that we have coming up in February in conjunction with National Girls and Women in Sports Day. We will be hosting our second annual Fierce Women in Sports event, which is a celebration of girls and women in sports. We've got three amazing speakers that will be coming. Dr. Jen Fry will be talking about speaking boldly, living boldly, and then we will have Kathy George and Kristen Kelsey will be talking about their relationship from athlete and coach to colleagues in the industry as well. And then really excited to also announce that we will be launching our inaugural Fierce Girls in Sports Youth Sports Clinic, which we are proud to be hosting with the Lansing School District at the Don Johnson Fieldhouse, where we will welcome girls 3rd through 6th grade for an opportunity to try some more non-traditional sports, all while learning life lessons. So they'll have esports, archery, pickleball, golf, field hockey. Sorry, couldn't think of the last one. But they'll have an opportunity to try all of those sports while learning a life lesson through those sports. So we've got a stellar lineup of individuals coming to help us with that event. So we'll share all those information out with everybody, and hopefully you guys can join us for those events.
Megan, is Kathy George still coaching professionally in Grand Rapids?
She is. She's still with Grand Rapids Rise.
Give her my best. She was a real gem. Okay, Washington Avenue Advisors, Nick, if you would, and start out, Nick, explaining who they are, because there's a few of us that know what you guys do.
Yeah, happy to. Thank you, Chris. First of all, I want to say we're happy to be here, privileged to be able to support the Michigan Business Network and get to see my old friend Todd and meet new people. So thank you for having us. My company's name is Washington Avenue Advisors. We're an advisory firm that works specifically with business owners on advisory services, everything from wealth management, business valuation, business growth, and accounting advisory services. So if you're a business owner and have questions on how to grow or execute business, we are the firm to help you. Thank you.
Well, we appreciate you being here and the good work you're doing, yes. Most of us business people need that. Okay, Ben Schuldinger is here today. We're going to surprise him with this. Take the mic. I know you're nervous about it. So Ben is presently our superintendent of schools here in Lansing, and has already made an announcement. But give us the full Monty.
Hello everybody. I'm Ben. I have nothing to sell, but I wanted to say thank all of you. Your support of the school district has been incredible over these many years. But yes, it's been made public that I got married on October 25th. That's not what you meant. I've been the sole.
Wait! You glossed over that.
That's right. I got married on October 25th. It was great.
Mike, congratulations.
Thank you. But yeah, I've been named the sole finalist to be the superintendent of Seattle Public Schools. So contracts are still being negotiated. It's very possible that they'll tell me to go stick it, but probably not. So the hope is that we get that all done, and I'll probably leave the end of January, beginning of February, and the board will do what the board does and name an interim. But the good news, if you think I've done a good job, is I'm not going anywhere anytime soon. So it's about 3 months to make sure that we do the handoff right and make sure everything goes well. But I really do, for all of you in the room who I know, I really want to tell you that these last 5 years have been terrific. And because of your support, the district has done things that really nobody thought was possible. Just because I have the mic, and how can I not say this? When I got here, the district had never had a graduation rate over 70%. We're now at 88%. The district has a higher attendance rate than it did even pre-COVID. We had the highest growth rates in reading scores in the last 3 years out of any district in the state of Michigan. So a lot of really wonderful things are happening in this district, and it's thanks to you and community support, and of course the hard work of the educators and the kids. Thank you.
Well, I wanted you to stand up because I wanted the opportunity to say what a marvelous job you've done here while you were here. And we appreciate the fact that you left us for a district that's what, 5 times bigger?
It is, and it doesn't snow as much.
Yeah. Well, congratulations. And congratulations on your wedding. You didn't tell me. For God's sakes. Okay, anybody else here? Is there anybody from the chamber? Anybody from League? No? Okay, good. All right, so with that, get down there, get your lunch, get back here, eat it quickly, network, and then we've got a great program coming just after. He's our speaker today. Please welcome Jeremy.
Thank you for allowing me to be here. I know that WLNS is super proud to be connected to this, and one of the perks of being in my position is I get to be invited to do this and be a part of the movers and the shakers of our community, but also talk about and introduce someone who's a legend. Listen, I was a sports maniac and still am, so in the 90s I watched this guy dominate on the courts, so to be here with you today is pretty special. And then what you find out is not only was he a legend on the court, you realize that he was maybe a legend off the court too, arguably even better for the push of tennis once he retired, being an ambassador to the sport, so that was amazing. Then I find out, which is even more surprising, is he's got some roots in this area. He lived in East Lansing and won a state championship for East Lansing, and you're like, oh wow. But maybe the biggest surprise was about an hour ago. I didn't know you were so tall, man. You were 6'6". I was like, I couldn't believe that. When I watched him on the court, on the tiny TVs, he was short, but that's awesome. But no, I have the honor of introducing Todd Martin today, and please welcome.
Big surprise here, I need more notes than the anchor does. Chris, John, thank you. Fun to be back home. I'd rather not have to do as much preparation the next time I come home. So that's a direct message to the Executive Director of Todd Martin Youth Leadership, Rebecca. I moved away from Lansing in the winter of 1993, so like January, February 1993. I have never lived here since, so that's more than a half of my lifetime ago. It's still home. So it's not often I'm here. I'm here about once a year to raise funds for our organization that you should know, especially the people at Shaheen and Foster Swift, Washington Avenue Advisors, already sponsors, but we do amazing work for the at-risk youth population. Tennis, leadership, education, life skills. Thank you very much. That's the end of it. That's the end of the pitch. But this is the second time I've been here in the last 3 weeks. First time I've been to the Lansing airport since about 1997. Detroit's a little easier for me. Let me just do a quick career evolution. I went to college for 2 years at Northwestern. I left college because I was doing really well in tennis and really horribly at school. And I played tennis professionally for 14 years. It took me a little while to get my feet under me. Ultimately did really well, loved it. On and off the court, it was a dream. Retired, did some coaching, did some other work, started a business, and then the last 12 years I've been in, let's call it sports business generally. If you guys can do the math, I'm 35 years into my career, quote unquote. 21 years since anybody in their right mind would ask me to speak publicly about my achievements. Okay, that's when I stopped wearing shorts to work. The first 14 years of that career, I have never in my wildest dreams been as content with what I was doing. I was meant to be playing professional tennis. I was meant to be chasing my childhood dream. Loads of us, and this goes for high school athletes who don't get the opportunity to play in college athletes who don't get to play sports professionally, and then most dramatically for professional athletes who play well into their adulthood, and then one day they wake up and that ain't there anymore. That ain't there anymore. So I'm one of the few that had it really good. The day after I retired, I was asked to coach. A month after I, silver medalist in the Athens Olympics called me up and said, hey, I need some help. I'm like, I'm your guy. This was the dream job after the dream job. Did that for about 3 years. Took a little bit of a break because that one was not the dream job, just so you know. And then in 2009, a guy named Novak Djokovic called me and said, I need a coach. And I knew Novak. He was already third in the world, so everybody knew Novak. But I knew Novak when he was 15. Not 15 in the world, but 15 years old. I watched him play in the French Open Junior qualifying tournament. I went over to watch some Americans, and I was like, who's that guy? And I worked with Novak for about a year. And also dabbled with some commentary. I did some corporate hospitality, which is code for trading on celebrity. And I had the great joy of being a very hands-on dad. So coaching was, let's call it about 20 weeks of my year. Commentary probably was 3 weeks of my year, and a little, But guess what? You go from high intensity, killing yourself, chasing a dream, to dabbling, and it's a recipe for underwhelmedness. I was wandering professionally. I was super happy. My life, nobody would ever come and look at my life and say, well, wait a second. You took your kids to school, you went to the golf course, you played some tennis. It was the idyllic life, but totally unfulfilling. At age 43, I'm really fortunate to have played my cards right and kind to a lot of people, responsible throughout my career. Volunteered a good bit within the sport. One of those bits of volunteerism was I was the president of the Player Council, which is, it's not a union sport, but it's effectively like the union head for the league in tennis. And one of the guys who used to work for the ATP, our professional tour, was the chairman at the International Tennis Hall of Fame in Newport, Rhode Island. And he called me up and he said, hey, I need a new CEO. Can you put together a list of candidates? He came down to see me. We had breakfast. I had 3 lists of 5 people from different sectors of the world. He said, why didn't you put your name on any of these lists? And I said, you asked me to produce lists. You didn't ask me if I were interested. About a month and a half later, I took a new job. I uprooted a very happy young family. My wife and I think the straw that broke the camel's back on this one was we were both raised in the North, and our kids in Jacksonville, Florida were waking up deciding which pair of flip-flops and which pair of shorts and which pair of t-shirt or which t-shirt to wear every single day of the year. And you know, there was a character building element of the community that was absent for our young kids. And so the opportunity to move north was really appealing to us. Also, just professionally, an amazing opportunity for me to run a tennis organization. Lo and behold, I found out not that long afterwards, it's an arts and culture organization. It's not actually a tennis organization. It's a museum. It's the history of our sport. We're the stewards of the history of the sport. Despite that, I loved it. I loved every single minute of it. 9 years doing something that I was not qualified to do when I arrived. Inspired to do because I cared about the sport and what the organization represented. And because the board thought this guy might actually be effective in helping us build an international brand for what is named an international organization. I learned a ton. Most importantly, I became a better person, father, husband. In 2022, necessarily, I was at a crossroads. I could choose to stay for another 5 years, get our youngest child through high school, or leap at an opportunity to do something different. Something bigger, something bolder, something more influential. So I evolved away from the Hall of Fame. I ended up going to work at 52 for my first ever boss. Don't do that. Don't have kids that do that. Either go the whole way entrepreneurially and be the boss, or start early and learn what a boss means. It was a super challenge, and super not in the greatest sense. I'll tell you a little bit more about it later, but there is no doubt that I channeled my athletics, my past athletic life, in how to navigate that time. Chris frames these luncheons around what did you learn in sports that you apply to business? I could have come up and just said one word to y'all and been done. Everything. Everything I do in business is application of what I learned in athletics. Today I'm going to speak to you metaphorically. The soon-to-be former superintendent has heard me speak publicly before, and I quoted Marcus Aurelius, and he was the only person in the room that came up to me and said, I was not expecting to hear Marcus Aurelius quoted tonight, and I won't do that. I promise. I got new material, okay?
I love it.
So the metaphor today is a three-legged stool. In speaking, we're told the principle of three. Have three things that you want people to go home with. 4 is too much to ask. 2 might be just not enough meat on the bone. My 3 legs are clarity, commitment, and then the third leg's got it's like a split hoof. Okay? Attitude and focus. Clarity. My very wise, lifelong mentor, childhood tennis coach, Rick Furman, who maybe some of you had come across earlier in your lives. told me something very impactful. He was the executive director of the USTA, so responsible for tennis in the United States of America at one point in time. And he said, without clarity, people make you know what up. Think about that. Just without clarity, people make stuff up. Commitment. I say this all the time. It's better to be committed to the wrong game plan than to be uncommitted to the right game plan. I mean, if there is one thing that I would want everybody to know, is that an athlete who is uncommitted will fail. An athlete who is committed doesn't need the perfect strategy, but they'll get through it. Attitude and focus. Attitude dictates focus. If you don't have a good attitude, your focus can go anywhere you can imagine. And focus always leads to performance. I'm super competitive. I know I'm a lot different than most. I watched Kirk Gibson's recording from, I think, 2018 at this luncheon. There's nobody wired more differently than Kirk Gibson than me. I love Kirk Gibson. I'm inspired by Kirk Gibson. I respect Kirk Gibson, but I'm a whole lot different. And I'm going to tell you just how. My definition of competition is to come together to get better. Don't get me wrong, I love winning. I strive to win. In tiddlywinks, tennis, basketball, I'll still take anybody on in a game of horse. But at the same time, winning isn't everything. Winning is a journey through failure to learn and grow. I was taught, value the result, focus on the process. Value the result, focus on the process. And through clarity, commitment, and focus, that journey leads you through the failures into success, and frankly, into winning, more times than not. A tennis player needs to embrace failure. Just so you know, I was expecting Germa to say this, I won 8 times professionally. I won 8 tournaments professionally, 2 of them decently sized tournaments. You know what that means? That means 8 weeks in 14 years, I did not lose. 8 weeks in 14 years, I did not lose. If you don't learn how to make something out of failure in that life, you don't have that life. I'm going to talk to you about failure, if that wasn't already obvious. And it was reinforced by a guy that my boss calls Chatters. I call him ChatGPT, who tells me that 6 out of my 10 top matches were indeed perceived losses. Everybody knows Wimbledon. Anybody not know what Wimbledon is? Okay, all right. I'll come back to sort of elementary education in sports in a minute. But in 1996, I was in the semifinals of Wimbledon against a fellow who grew up in Flint, Schwartz Creek, named Mal Washington, who was my recruiting host when I went and visited the University of Michigan, lived a mile away from me in Jacksonville, Florida for 15 years. One of my dear, 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 dear friends in the sport. And we found each other in the semifinals of Wimbledon. It was probably close to expected for me, or not unexpected for me. It was a surprise for him. Not because he wasn't a great player, but because grass courts were not his best surface. The first day, oddly, we had to play over the course of 2 days. We played 4 sets the first day. We ended up two sets all, and then it got dark. That first day, I was a basket case. I was having so much trouble managing the excitement of the moment. It was also my father's 60th birthday, and as it turns out, he had just been diagnosed with leukemia, and it was his last visit to Wimbledon. Normally, you want to keep going. If you're in the flow, you want to keep going. The darkness that made us wait for the next day was a blessing for me. I got to go back, spend time with coach, regroup, calm myself down, have others calm me down, and come out, put the marathon that was the first day behind me, and come out and conquer the day in a sprint on the next morning. And I went out, I did that. I got up 5-1. We played set to 6. I was up 5-1 in probably about 15 to 20 minutes, which is a nanosecond in tennis terms. So let me bring this back to other sports. I did not know that Tico Duckett was going to be sitting at my table, but first I'll tell you, in baseball terms, imagine being up by 10 runs entering the 9th inning. In basketball terms, imagine being up by 20 with about 5 left to play. Maybe even in the days of Phil Ford and the Four Corners, for those of you who are old enough. Now I'm going to put it in a football context. I'm playing wide receiver for the Detroit Lions. And with my brilliant moves and foot speed, I'm slow as rocks, by the way. I find myself, we got the ball on the 50-yard line. It's the last play of the game. It's supposed to be a Hail Mary, but because of the way I do it, I'm wide open on the 5-yard line. And Eric Hipple, Gen X boomers, anybody, throws a dart to me. I am wide open. If we score, we win. And let's call it the Lions get to go and play the Super Bowl. All I have to do is catch this ball. I mean, it's on target. It's a dart. Just catch the ball. Just please catch the ball. Waiting there, and the most amazing thing happens. I caught the ball. Just so happens, I couldn't muster the ability to turn and walk 5 yards by myself into the end zone. The Detroit Lions lose the NFC Championship game. I lost the semifinals of Wimbledon. Tico, can you imagine just needing to walk 5 yards to get into the Super Bowl? Well, my run is your walk, so let's put it that way. So I lost a ton that day. I lost a childhood dream. I lost a thrill from my father. I also gained a ton. I gained a better understanding of myself. Clarity. I started to chart a pathway to greater success. Commitment. Strategy. And I built a foundation for my future, which gave me great focus. Also called upon the best attitude I could have possibly needed. That help started actually with a professor at Michigan State University who was a sports psychologist. Showed up at my kitchen table and he said, "Don't think of me as a shrink, I'm an organizer of thought." This was in 1996. I had just embarrassed myself in front of the world. And he said, "I'm not a shrink, I'm an organizer of thought." That dispelled the notion of I've got something wrong. Went right in the direction of opportunity. He helped me define my own definition of mental toughness, or my own composition of mental toughness. It's another three-pronged apparatus. Perspective, it's ain't life or death. Awareness, I gotta know what's going on. And control the controllables. So perspective. My perspective at 5'1", I placed way too much importance on Wimbledon. If I was at 5'1" at the Indianapolis Open, that wouldn't happen. But it was Wimbledon. I deemed that to be life or death. I also, literally life or death, I placed way too much importance on my ailing father's joy of an experience of watching his son succeed at Wimbledon. My dad was super proud of me. I could have failed, I could have fallen flat on my face. He would have reveled and been proud of me because of what I was doing, and because he knew I was meant to be doing what I was doing. Awareness. If I'm feeling something, if you're feeling something, when you're pitching to somebody, when you're in a negotiation, you must be aware that the other guy is feeling something too. I totally lost sight that my friend from Schwartz Creek, Michigan, an hour away from where I grew up, a 5-minute run from my house, I forgot that he could be feeling anything in the same ballpark of what I was feeling. I forgot that he was human. It was all about me. It was all about me and my mirror. Control of the controllables. They're not skills. They're not results. I was taught attitude, focus, effort, energy, competitive spirit, and perseverance. I'll be able to rattle those off until the day I go. If you have those in spades, you will not fail. You might not win on the day, but you will not fail. At 5-1 up in that final set, I got really distracted. I was thinking about media. What do I say to the press? I'm in the finals. Who am I going to play in the finals? Is it this guy or that guy? And Sampras lost a couple of days ago, so I actually have a chance. I wonder what it's like to hold the trophy. What do I say to console Mal? That's the one bit of thinking I did about Mal Washington from 5-1 up in the 5th set. Not once about, boy, I wonder what he's feeling right now competitively. When we got to 5-all, I couldn't hold a cup of water still. I started filling it halfway just so that the water wasn't splashing out. Not once did I think about Mal. But I thought about, hey, bad luck. Hey, next time, well, a great tournament. All of this nonsense that I could have done without an ounce of preparation. I was so distracted from the task at hand that I couldn't possibly expect to perform. That moment, in the moment, hurt like none other. I would have loved to have been in the finals moment. I would rather have not choked in front of millions of people watching the most important tennis event in the year. It was, and I've got this written in bold, all caps, and red. It was humiliating. Humiliating. But pain also makes you feel alive. Pain's a really valuable tool in our world. And it probably was the most valuable part of my journey. It was about 6 years into my journey professionally, but it was really valuable. And the reason it was because it gave me the opportunity to convert humiliation to humility. I was already humble. I was modest. But this was a different type of humility. Also, it prepared me a great deal for that job I told you I left the Hall of Fame for. 9 years after being the CEO of the International Tennis Hall of Fame, loving the work, went to something big, went to something important, went to work for somebody influential. I did not acknowledge then, but I was totally absent of clarity. I was absent of the clarity of why I was leaving. It was big, better. It was influential, what I want. Or was I just enamored with the notion that this guy who had been really successful was impressed by me and thought I might have something to offer? I joined a team that was absent of purpose. I asked one of my coworkers, what is success? Make the boss happy. If anybody ever says that to you, you know you are in the wrong workplace. Run for the hills. Others, at moments, would say, we're here to impact. Oftentimes, the default was, what's the P&L say? I was absent of clear responsibilities or goals. The team was absent of a coherent message. And what was the result? The result was, and this is it's a holding company, so there's the holding company and then some portfolio companies that I was intermixed with. The type A finance guys went super high control. Profit is power. The immature, the insecure, gossiped, lashed out, started thinking about what else. The pleasers didn't know how to please, who to please, and they were utterly confused. And the chameleons, this was the one that got me the most, because I saw people who are great at what they do go from talking about we to me. And the moment I witnessed that is when I finally said, I've got to go. This is just not right. That's a wonderfully talented, good human being. And somehow he was inspired to correct himself mid-sentence. We did this really well. I mean, I did this really well. And I'm like, wow. And it was not his problem. He was not the problem. The system was the problem. So not dissimilarly to my loss at Wimbledon, this role was a public role. It was a public failure of mine. Bad due diligence. Naivete on my side. I mean, massive naivete. And frankly, the inability to make my way through the endeavor successfully. Real life consequences. In a way, I was humiliated all over again. I also learned again the importance of leaning on others. Career counselors, leadership coaches, the board of the International Tennis Hall of Fame, the board that was prepared to hire me for 5 more years. And they said, we're here to help. So much counsel. Fortunately now, I'm in a wonderful career in a wonderful career space, and I benefited from that pain. In tennis, we get 2 serves. You miss your first serve, you better not miss your second serve. I never made the same mistake that I made against Mal, and I'm certain I'll never make the same mistake that I made in leaving the International Tennis Hall of Fame. And it's those lessons that we have to accept that we miss, but we miss to grow. We miss to grow. How am I doing time-wise? All right. Okay. I'm gonna skip a couple of things that are more about my losses. But I said a name earlier, and I don't talk about it very often. It's Novak Djokovic. I would imagine more of you know more about Novak Djokovic than you do about Wimbledon. At this point in time, Novak is the winningest tennis player in men's tennis history. He's won 24 major tournaments between Wimbledon, US Open, Australian Open, and French Open. I didn't have too much time with him, but it was interesting. It was probably impactful in certain ways, but I think it'll especially resonate for you all. He was 22 when he hired me. I would have been 39. In the first week that we worked together, I was in a debate with one of his sparring partners, an Italian player who was probably just a handful of years older than Novak. He was about to stop playing. He had a failed career. And he was expert at one thing. He was expert at feeling sorry for himself. And so I was in a debate with him. He was saying, oh, you know, the countries of affluence are so privileged. The people in the US get so many more opportunities. There's better economics, so forth and so on. The Federation in Italy, where he was from, never supported his career, this, that, the other thing. And Novak was a bystander for all of it. It was important for him to hear that conversation, and I think it told him a good bit about who I was. And Novak I think he speaks 8 languages fluently. He speaks them fluently, but he also speaks them prophetically. Very wise words. Not always very wise thoughts, but very wise words. And in this instance, very wise thoughts. He said, the champion comes from within. Now I thought, at the time, you're darn right it is. That's exactly what I was trying to say. And I did feel affirmed in that somebody had summarized my belabored debate and crowned me the winner. Over the years, I've grown a little bit more confident that Novak was sending a message to himself. Novak, well, let me say this, deep down inside, I think the truly greats, the really special talents, they know it. They know they're meant to be special. The Jordans, the LeBrons, the Kobes, the Bradys, the Izzos, the Sabins, right? There's something in them that they know is different. Novak knew he was different. And Novak also knew that he was not living anything near to his potential. When he fired me, about a year later, we sat down and he said, I agree with everything you've told me, this, that, the other thing, but I don't feel like our relationship is what it needs to be. And I told him, it's the most important communication I've ever had with an athlete. Like, you're the king of Serbia, and the world revolves around you. He's 22 years old, and at the time he was 23. Everybody's life depends on you. Serbia's citizens, your parents, your girlfriend, now wife, your agent, your coach, your strength and conditioning coach, your massage therapist, the whole ecosystem is you. You. if you don't take responsibility for your relationships, if you don't take responsibility for your career, it's going to be a miserable go. It's going to be an absolutely miserable go. There's no doubt in my mind that Novak discovered his clarity. Certainly changed his attitude and demanded a focus that I don't think we've ever seen in professional tennis. If there's ever been an athlete that represents value the result, focus on the process, it's Novak Djokovic. He cares so much about winning, but that guy is as process-oriented as you can possibly imagine. His talent didn't change, his skill didn't develop, but he demanded that the champion come from within. So I'll leave you with these thoughts. Three-legged stool: clarity, commitment, and focus. Not one of you, if I had a three-legged stool up here, if I had it upside down, would sit on it. Three legs of the stool are still there. It's only functional if you turn it upside, right side up, and you have the seat. And to me, the seat is the sum of those parts. It's what makes the stool whole. The seat represents joy, fulfillment, real success. Focus on the process, the results will come. And I guarantee you, if you have great clarity, real commitment, and true focus, my bet's on you. Thanks, guys.
That was so introspective and so poignant. Thank you for delivering that message.
My wife doesn't always say introspective in a positive way.
I will write her a note.
Okay, that'd be helpful.
I do want to say this, though. You alluded to Chico. We've got Bill Burke, and we've got a few people in the room who athletically kind of really got to that pinnacle. And then all of a sudden there was a day when it wasn't there. Did you have that day?
I'm waiting for it still. No.
You've done well.
I did. Football and tennis are very different for obvious reasons, but I practiced against my peers every day of my career. And so at 30 was really the last time I had really strong success that I would want people to talk about. But I played until I was 34. And at 34, I was a much better tennis player than I was when I was 24. Other people had gotten better, faster, had more room to grow maybe, but the biggest issue for me was I finally realized that I could go out with number 1 through 10 onto a practice court, and if we had to compete, if it was just us, I felt like there was absolute parity. I'd win some, they'd win some, but I felt like that was my level. I'd go out on to a match court with the stress, with the lights, whatever, and I just couldn't find the right button to push at the right time, and even if I did find the right button, I wasn't executing when I needed to, and that, and that's here. My heart was still in it. My body was still capable of everything it was when I was 24. But there's some real wiring in athletes that get us to be able to do what we need to do at the right time. It's more important to play the last 5 minutes of the game really well than it is to play the first 5 minutes of the game really well. And you see that over and over in every sport. And in tennis, we have finish lines every 6 points about, right? 6 points is a game, 6 games is a set, and 3 or 5 sets is a match. So we have all these finish lines. So we have constant intermittent points of inflection. And if you don't perform at those moments of inflection, you fail. And that's what ultimately happened.
Are there any other questions out there? Yeah.
You played in an era with Pete Sampras, Andre Agassi, Jim Courier, Michael Chang. Who did you bring the best out of, and who brought the best out of you?
Well, I beat Sampras 4 times, and I beat Agassi 5 times. Yeah, that's impressive, isn't it? Yeah, thanks, Chris. Thanks. Collectively, I lost to them 31 times. Listen, I think I think I probably brought the best out in Andre. He was the best matchup for me, but he figured we had much more parity early. I was 5-13 against him, and at one point in time I was probably 3-5 or something like that. He figured me out, and in large part because he had to figure me out. Sampras didn't have to figure anybody out. He just overpowered us, over athleticized us. And the other two were just utter grinders that were tough outs no matter what.
Well, thanks, Andy. Give me 20 seconds to readjust the mic here. I do have a couple. I love what you said about commitment, and I look back through my coaching days, and coaching techniques have changed. A lot of things, have changed. I taught some kids the wrong way to do things, but they were so committed, they won with them. It's amazing that your statement about being committed to a bad plan is better than not being committed to a good one. That really is true. All right, so once again, I want to thank our sponsors. I'm really sincere in this. We did Shaheen Chevrolet, Fly Lansing, Dean Transportation, Sinair, Foster Swift, Attorneys, LAFQ, Lansing Sports Commission, and PNC Bank, as well as today, Washington Avenue Advisors, WLNS. Jorma, thanks so much for coming out here. We appreciate that. So with that, a few quick little announcements. I want to thank my team, obviously, Sarah. They intersperse their names so it doesn't look like nepotism, but I'll do them all together. Sarah, Caitlin, and Jeffrey Mosier, and then Jimmy Green and Benjamin Robinson. I want to thank those folks so much for making this happen, really, because that, in a day-to-day basis, the Michigan Business Network, they're in charge of it. I own it, but they all know more about it than I do. And thank you all, once again, for being part of the Speakers Bureau. Todd, thanks so much for coming so far for us today. We appreciate it, and a great message. Our next event is the breakfast on January 15th, so you want to mark that down. That's the economic forecast, so we'll be debuting the most recent Future Business Index for the state of Michigan in small business, and then we'll have other regional people, as you remember, like the Chamber, the LEAP director, and talk up all the things that are going on and what the prediction is for the next year. Others on the horizon, Ben Bachman is going to come in and speak about trusts and formulating future. Also, we'll have former Governor Snyder in a couple of months. He's going to talk about his new startup. He's been a good friend for a number of years and really a bright guy. And Nolan Finley, anybody know Nolan Finley? He writes for the Free Press, has been an editor, wonderful guy. He wrote a book in conjunction with a peer all about civility. And he's going to talk about civility, which I think will be pretty timely because we're going to get him just before the midterms. Once again, don't forget the quick survey that's on your tables. Hit that QR code. You can get this back. If you didn't get a parking voucher, make sure you get one on the way out because we want to take care of that for you. So with that, I want to thank you all for being here as always, and wish you, as always, a very